afternoon and thank you for joining us at this time. You're watching News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The top stories. President Bola Tinubu arrives Abuja after 2 weeks away from the country. Federal government vows to pursue criminal case against the crypto platform Binance and its officials to a logical end. Minister of Works, Engineer David Umahi, rubbishes criticisms of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Details coming up shortly. Welcome back. I am Omo of a piece of Semere. After 2 weeks away from the country, President Bola Tinubu arrives his official residence at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja today. The special advisor on information and strategy to the president, Bayo Onanuga, had in a tweet revealed yesterday that President Bola Tinubu alongside his aides will return to Nigeria from Europe today. According to media reports, the president departed Abuja for the Netherlands for a 3-day official visit in honor of an invitation from the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. Tinubu had, while in the Netherlands, participated in the Nigerian-Dutch Business and Investment Forum, which brought together heads of conglomerates and organizations in both countries. The federal government says it has offered 12 oil blocks and 5 deep offshore assets for sale, as it also marketed the assets to global oil sector investors at the ongoing 23 Opportunities session, a side event at the 2024 Offshore Technology Conference. The Chief Executive, Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, Gbenga Komolafe, told investors that Nigeria has 37.5 billion barrels of crude oil and condensate reserves, coupled with 209.26 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves. Komolafe said the figures represent above 30% and 33% respectively of the entire oil and gas reserves in Africa, aside from an abundant mix of other renewable energy resources. According to him, each block had been chosen for its potential to bolster the country's reserves and stimulate economic vitality, stressing that the NUPRC was committed to conducting the licensing round in a fair, competitive and transparent manner. He added that the 2024 oil fields bid round for the 12 oil blocks and 5 deep offshore assets would end by January 2025. Now, the federal government has vowed to pursue the criminal case against the crypto platform Binance and its officials to a logical end. This is coming on the heels of bribery allegations made by the Chief Executive Officer of Binance, Richard Tang, in a blog post published by the New York Times, NYT, against the federal government that some individuals had demanded $150 million bribe in cryptocurrency to settle the criminal charges against the firm. NYT reported yesterday that a compliance officer with the exchange platform, Tigran Gambarian, received an unsettling message to pay roughly $150 million in crypto within 48 hours, a claim top officials of the President Bola Tinubu administration described as false and unfounded. According to media reports, the incident allegedly occurred before Gambarian and a colleague, Nadeem Anjarwala, were arrested and detained on the orders of the National Security Advisor. While Anjarwala subsequently escaped and got traced to Kenya, Gambarian had been held in Kuje Correctional Facility in the last 4 weeks after he was transferred there from a safe house on April the 8th. Both Binance and Gambarian are facing trial for tax evasion and money laundering, and their trial was scheduled to begin last Thursday, but the court postponed it until May 7th. Shell Nigeria says it exclusively paid a total of $1.09 billion in corporate taxes and royalties to the Nigerian government in 2023 through the operations of the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited and Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company of Nigeria Limited. The figures announced in the just published 2023 Shell briefing notes showed that the SPDC paid $442 million, while the Exploration Production Company remitted $649 million. According to a statement by the company's media relations manager, Abimbola Asian Nelson, said similar payments made by the two companies in 2022 amounted to $1.36 billion, adding that shell companies in Nigeria will continue to contribute to the country's economic growth through the revenue generated and employment opportunities created by supporting the development of local businesses. Asian Nelson said Shell has invested in Nigeria for more than 60 years, stressing that the briefing notes report on the progress of the businesses of Shell companies in Nigeria showed that the companies continue to power progress, working closely with stakeholders and communities to promote socio-economic development and providing cost-effective and cleaner energy solutions. Right, you're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, more woes for Nigerians as the Central Bank of Nigeria directs banks to commence charging a 0.5% cybersecurity levy on all electronic transactions within the country. As expected, kickbacks are setting in already, with NLC and CSOs rejecting the cybersecurity levy. But is the government trying to rob Peter to pay Paul? A business and financial consultant, Agaba Wilson Agaba, will be joining us in a moment to discuss this, and of course we'll bring you details of more stories after this break. Do join us again. Right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The Minister of Works, Engineer David Umahi, has rubbished the criticisms of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, describing it as not only hypocritical but also motivated by ambition and cheap political calculations. The minister who spoke stated this through his special advisor on media, Oji Uchenna Oji, in Abuja on Wednesday, where he accused Atiku of promoting false analogies to discredit the procurement process, which led to the award of Section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project. He said Atiku's criticism of the project award, cost implication, as well as the firm chosen to execute the contract were based on ignorance. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has directed all banks to commence charging a 0.5% cybersecurity levy on all electronic transactions within the country. The Apex Bank stated this in a circular signed by the Director, Payment System Management Department, Chibuzo, a circular which was directed to all commercial, merchant, non-interest and payment service banks, among others, noted that the implementation of the levy would start 2 weeks from Monday, May the 6th, 2024. According to the circular, the levy shall be applied at the point of electronic transfer origination and then deducted and remitted by the financial institution. The deducted amount shall be reflected in the customer's account with the narration, cybersecurity levy. It, however, exempted 16 banking transactions from the CBN's new cybersecurity levy. Loan disbursement and repayment is one of them. We have salary payment, intra-account transfers within the same bank or between different banks for the same customer, intra-bank transfers between customers of the same bank, other financial institutions' instructions to their corresponding banks, interbank placement, banks transfers to CBN and vice versa, inter-branch transfers within a bank, check clearing and settlement, letters of credit, banks recapitalization related funding, only bulk funds movement from collection accounts, savings and deposits, including transactions involving long-term investments such as treasury bills, bonds, and commercial papers, government social welfare programs transactions, and etc. Also, we have in that category, you see pension payment and non-profit and charitable transactions, including donations to registered non-profit organizations or charities, educational institutions or transactions, including tuition payment and other transactions involving schools, universities, or other educational institutions. Transactions involving banks' internal accounts, such as suspense accounts, clearing accounts, profit and loss accounts, inter-branch accounts, reserve accounts, nostro and vostro accounts, and escrow accounts. But now, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has given a 48-hour deadline to the federal government to withdraw the 0.5% cybersecurity levy. SERAP, which made this known in a statement on its official X handle, threatened to sue the federal government if the grossly unlawful directive by the CBN is not reversed. Joining me now to discuss this is business and financial consultant, the person of Agaba Wilson Agaba. He joins us live via telephone this afternoon to discuss this. A very good afternoon to you, Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Right. Apparently, every week comes with new policies or development, if you like, but it looks like, I mean, no pun intended, I hope you understand, that we are now practicing a renewed, suffering administration as opposed to the renewed hope administration that President Bola Tinubu had promised Nigerians.
Oh, well, in the run-up to the election, I was one of those who said the current president, if he won the election, will try to move Nigeria more towards a capitalist economy. Although we wouldn't say that we've been practicing a proper or a balanced mixed economy, but that is what we officially say we practice in Nigeria. We have a mixed economy where the government try to provide social succor to the less privileged and also try to encourage private businesses and all of that, which was typified in the previous administration. But going by the antecedents of the current president, when he was governor in Lagos State, I knew that Nigeria is going to move towards a total capitalist economy. And you can already see that. He is focused towards revenue generation, getting as much as possible money from the masses on all fronts. And as much as that is not a crime, assuming that these funds are going to be applied properly and corruption is going to be at an insignificant level. However, the complaint of Nigerians right now is that we are suffering, but to no avail. We are suffering, and those in position of power are not suffering with us, and all of this. So it's for me as a person, it was to be expected.
Okay. Well, one policy too many, one would say, and it's okay that you even have to refer to when he was governor, of Lagos State. Indeed, during the electioneering period, a number of Nigerians who had rooted for the president actually based, their thought pattern on the fact that he is someone that was able to, give Lagos State, economy, within that state, knowing that Lagos is a commercial hub, in not just in Nigeria but Africa, one would say. And also, you take a look at the internally generated revenue in that state. I mean, a number of people had actually, given the credit to, the former governor of Lagos State, who is now the president. Sent cybersecurity levy, trillions of naira, is expected to be generated at the end of the day. But should that be at the detriment of the masses?
You see, I was so much at home with the policies of the former president for this particular question that you have asked. The former president was someone who tried to balance these two aspects. We need to raise revenue. We need to grow the economy drastically. But while we do that, the people still need to survive. I think that was mostly the focus of his own philosophy. Although he had his own other aspect of his weaknesses that marred the administration. But I am of the same school of thought with him. We need to fix the country. But most of the problems in our country today are in the situation of an ant having a hernia, where if you operate it to remove the hernia, it's going to die, and if you don't operate it, the hernia will eventually kill it. So you have to find a very delicate way of solving this issue. The majority of Nigerians don't earn much. And there are a lot of people who even are able, willing, and actively searching for a place to work, to earn a living, they can't find. So by the time you begin to deploy this policy, trying to transform us from whatever dysfunctional economy we were before to a working capitalist economy, it is going to bite on a lot of people. And that is what you are seeing today.
But will it be intelligent? Yes, I'm sorry to bother you, Wilson. Will it be intelligent to even, say or think that this is just an indirect way of imposing, taxes on Nigerians?
No, you wouldn't say it's an indirect way. And I think the philosophy behind this type of levy is to get the people who have more to pay more. Which in a way is not too bad. However, what shall be the impact, the trickling impact on the people of Nigeria? I wouldn't also call it an indirect way because it's actually direct. It's there, we can see. It's a tax. We are paying levy. It's a tax. Even though we call it levy, it's a form of tax that have a different definition. So, we shouldn't use the word indirectly. It is what it is. The government is just trying to generate more revenue.
Okay.
Although because this discussion is focused on other things, I don't think as a person that the problem of Nigeria has ever been the amount of revenue. Yes, we've been complaining about low revenue generation, but the real problem has been the leakage of the revenue generated and the inefficiency and ineffectiveness of the revenue generating mechanism. I would have suggested to the president to focus more on that. For instance, how many barrels of oil do we drill in this country per day? I have asked experts in these areas and all of them have told me that, Mr. Wilson, go and sit down. You can never get that figure. And if we can't get that figure, nobody knows how much we are losing in that kind of sales. Well, you have agencies like VIO, for instance, collecting vehicle particulates in many states. How much of that money actually goes to the government? I would have thought that the president would think in line of automating such things. From the point you bring a car in, it is registered in your name. And you are being charged for it, even if you are a car dealer. They can have a lower amount for car dealers. So that this can even push them to sell quickly. And when they sell, it will push them to do change of ownership.
But you do know that there are some, organizations or agencies that depend solely on, what they generate, in form of, tellers, in form of, forms or whatever, and not necessarily depending on, the government, coffers for, the day-to-day running of, their activities.
Yeah, we're talking efficiency here. The VIO, for instance, is not a government, it's not wholly a government agency. It's a private agency, a private organization that is working on behalf of the government. It is allowed in other countries, but we must not forgo efficiency. And we shouldn't be doing what we can use technology to achieve more efficiently with a number of human beings who should actually be trained and be focusing on our border security, policing and other things. So if you look at I was discussing with someone the other time, and if you look at the sharing formula, what they generate, and then you look at the auditing process and all of that, they are all financially burdensome. And at the end of the day, how much does the government get?
All right.
We can fix this kind of issues. We can also widen the tax nets. there are so many businesses that ought to be paying little taxes but are not paying.
All right.
We can bring them into the tax net.
All right.
We can, and there are very creative ways that you can encourage businesses to start paying taxes. For instance, if you have a fund, a kind of fund that is available to small businesses that are up to date in their taxes, they can draw loans from there and all of that easily at good rate. It will encourage small businesses to start paying taxes.
Absolutely.
This is just one of many ways we can use.
All right. Let me jump in real quick, Mr. Wilson. You talked about security earlier, and one would begin to wonder what exactly is the essence of this cybersecurity levy. Are we having cybersecurity concerns, in terms of transacting, within the country? Is that the case? And if really that is the case, could you please give us an insight? I mean, for an average Nigerian who's probably watching this conversation, he or she's probably lost and, yet to get sense or understand of what this levy is all about. Please talk us through what the cybersecurity levy is all about.
Well, first I also put this disclaimer that I've been trying to get more information on how the government intends to apply this levy that they are charging towards combating cybersecurity issues, whether it is in the financial aspect or in the national security aspect. I'm yet to get any such document, so we are waiting for the NSA to give his speech and talk more about it so that we can understand.
Right.
However, now, do we have cybersecurity threats in the country? The answer is yes. But the level is what I believe is contestable, and I want to leave that to the security expert to discuss. But let me talk about the area I know, my area of expertise.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about cybersecurity issues in terms of finance. You have these guys that always send you text messages telling you have one XYZ. You should send so code to so number in order for you to, and once you send the code, before you know it, your account has been wiped. You have people who make calls to say your account have problem, we want to help you fix it, give us your ATM card and all of that. And then people who are not knowledgeable in these issues are swindled of their hard-earned money and throw them into abject poverty and all of that. We have a lot of those cyber frauds around finance, which I have been calling on the government to set up agencies within the EFCC to be able to work on this, track these things down within good time, so that when I steal money, it is only a matter of time they will get me. So people will stop doing it. But you see, people's money gets taken, they keep running to the bank crying and all of that. So I know it is important for us to have a unit that takes care of it. And this unit will need an up-to-date technology, maybe with AI and the other and all those things that will enable them to be able to pinpoint the location of a criminal and even track the movement of the fund for retrieval and all of that.
All right.
It's going to cost a lot of money to set that up.
Indeed.
So I think I agree that there's a challenge, but to what extent? And the next question is also, is this the only way to fund it at the moment?
Right. Let me come in real quick once again, Wilson. It's a no-brainer that people get to lament on a daily basis how monies get wiped out of their account, despite the fact that they have their bank verification number, that is the BVN, linked to their account. Isn't that a pointer to the fact that Nigeria is lagging behind seriously when when you talk about technological advancement and having accurate data? Because if I have my BVN linked to my bank account, why then is it possible? I mean, so easy for someone to get hold of what I have in my account and then wipe everything out. And then we have these banks. Is it that they are overwhelmed, or they are oblivious of their responsibility in terms of protecting the monies that customers have entrusted with them?
There are two things responsible for every fraud that is successful. Number one, a failure on the part of the bank and its staff, and then a failure on the part of the customer. I'm able to say this because I have worked in the bank before, and I worked in the operation department, and I did a little bit of marketing, a little bit of all the departments. So I understand how the bank works.
All right.
Now, for instance, the bank staff, by virtue of their job, have access to your ATM card before it is released to you. They have access to the all the card number, the CSV number, and when you come, there's a default password to every ATM. When you come to the bank to collect the card, it can be changed.
Right.
All right, for you, and then you can begin to use your card. So when you apply for a card and you have not gone to carry the card, a fraudulent bank staff who can collude, because the person in charge, in custody of the card is different from the person who actually changes the PIN. So if the two people can agree together, or the person in charge of the card, who is usually the customer service officer, is able to trick the operation manager at the branch to allow them change the PIN, they can begin to use that card within the bank, or they can change the PIN and give it to their associate outside of the bank, who will then begin to make transfers online and all of that. Then the other aspect is when the customer, because of their own lack of knowledge, get this kind of phony calls and they begin to, out of panic, give out their details to these people. Or they are in the WhatsApp group, they send them a message through their WhatsApp. Oh, there's a WhatsApp meeting for social group this evening. Send us the code so that we confirm your attendance, or it's a Zoom meeting. Once you send all these things, you have given access to, most time, your entire online account to these people. Okay. You don't know which one they are hacking, whether it's your email. With your email, they can reset your PIN for your account.
All right.
So this is how it happens.
Okay. Thank you very much for that insight, Wilson, I beg your pardon. But as it stands, you know, of course, that the federal government has been trying its best, you know, to ensure that more Nigerians are welcomed on board, you know, in terms of, you know, those that, you know, belong to the banking population category. Let me put it that way, because we have a number of unbanked, you know, population. It's really, you know, much, one would say. But at the end of the day, if I have to join the banking population category and I have to, you know, see a debit, you know, alert of 0.5%, I mean, immediately I transact. Even if I'm going to buy a loaf of bread, for example, there's going to be a deduction. I'm going to pay, you know, transfer money to someone, there is a deduction. It's really outrageous, one would say. Now we have CSOs, we have the NLC, and even NGOs coming out to say that this is not a step in the right direction. Will this not impact the cashless policy drive of the federal government negatively?
You see, I will say this because it's already public. You know, when the Muhammadu Buhari administration started the implementation of this cashless policy, this same president, being an aspirant, being the presidential flagship bearer of the APC at the time, commented that it was targeted at him, that the cashless policy was targeted at him to make it difficult for him to win the election from two perspectives. One, that it was biting on Nigerians, and Nigerians will come to hate the APC and they will take it out on him. And that also it will hinder the movement of cash that should facilitate campaign and all of that. So to some extent, I don't think the president believes in the cashless policy.
Okay.
But now that he is the president, if he actually believes in it, then these policies are contradicting. In one breath, you are trying to charge some money for anybody who made physical deposit of cash. For individual, is any deposit of cash above 500,000, and for company is above 1 million naira. This is to encourage people to use electronic transfer. This is to also encourage people to keep their money within the system. And in another breath, you bring another policy that charges every transaction that is made using the electronic platform, which again is discouraging people from using the electronic platform. So what are we going to have? We are going to have people start stacking money in their houses again, which robs the financial system of the fund that is supposed to mobilize from places of excesses to places of need, which is the main function of the financial system of any economy. And if you have an effective and efficient financial system, then it means productivity can increase, and that will mean that your economy is growing. If I am able to get money quickly to fund my creative idea, which will provide goods and services to the populace of the country,
all right,
I will employ more people. I will pay more taxes and all of that. But if this policy discourages people from putting money in the bank, the money that is in somebody's house, the bank cannot access it to loan to you and I when we have business ideas.
All right.
So you can see there's a conflict between two. I think the economic team should sit down and.
Wilson Agaba, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, I'm afraid we just have to leave the conversation here now. But one would say that a takeaway from the conversation is the fact that there is perhaps need for the relevant stakeholders to go back to the drawing board to think thoroughly about this. Because for the unbanked population, they have every reason to shout hallelujah. After all, they don't have their money in the bank. So this is not going to rub off on them. And for those who have their monies in the bank, they have, a lot to complain about. Taking a look at the economic, hardship on ground. But let's leave it here for now and monitor events as they unfold. Thank you so much for talking to us, a business and financial consultant, Agaba Wilson Agaba. Thank you so much for your time. All right, and that's it for news analysis today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omoife Piso Semere. I'll be back in a moment with the news update. Good afternoon.